I should have done something sooner. Wyatt Mercer stood at his fence line watching the Pike house across the ridge. He'd been watching for months now, not in a shameful way, but in the way a man notices when something's wrong. The girl, Joanna, always quiet, always working, never laughing. Tonight the lantern light flickered through their window. Then came the crash. The shouting, her stepmother's voice sharp as a blade. "You worthless girl!" Catherine's scream carried across the valley. Then her father's heavy steps, the sound of a hand meeting flesh. Wyatt's jaw tightened. He'd seen this before, heard it, but tonight was different. Tonight he heard Joanna cry out. The back door slammed open. A shadow stumbled into the moonlight. Joanna. She ran, barefoot, dress torn at the shoulder, blood streaked down her arm. Wyatt didn't think. He grabbed his coat and followed. The forest was dark. Pine needles crunched under his boots. He could hear her ahead, gasping, stumbling through the underbrush. "Joanna," he called softly. She froze, spun around, her eyes wide with terror, like a cornered animal. "Stay back," she whispered, trembling. "I'm not here to hurt you," Wyatt said, hands raised. "I saw you run. I wanted to make sure you were safe." She stared at him. Recognition flickered. The neighbor, the quiet farmer who never spoke to anyone. "Why?" she asked, voice breaking. "Why do you care?" Wyatt stepped closer, slow and careful. "Because I've been watching, not like that. But I've seen what they do to you." Her face crumpled, shame and relief mixed together. "I can't go back," she whispered. "Then don't," Wyatt said simply. He pulled a clean handkerchief from his pocket and knelt beside her. "Let me see your arm." She hesitated, then slowly extended her hand. The cut was deep, fresh. Her stepmother's work likely. A thrown dish or a shove into broken glass. Wyatt worked in silence, wrapping the cloth around her wound. His touch was gentle, steady. Nothing like her father's heavy hands. "You've been kind to me," she said quietly, "even from afar." He looked up, surprised. "I noticed," she added, "the firewood you left by our gate, the eggs. You thought I didn't know." Wyatt's ears reddened. "I didn't want to overstep." "You never did," Joanna said softly. "You were the only one who saw me as human." For a moment neither spoke. The forest breathed around them, wind through the pines. An owl's distant call. Then Wyatt stood, offering his hand. "You're coming with me, tonight." She shook her head. "You don't understand. My father will come looking. He always does." "Let him," Wyatt said, his voice hardening. "What's he going to do? Beat you again? Let Catherine destroy you?" Joanna flinched at the truth of it. Wyatt softened. "I'm not asking you to trust me completely. Not yet, but I am asking you to let me help." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. They turned toward his ranch, moving through the trees, but as they reached the clearing, voices echoed behind them. "Joanna," her father's voice, angry, desperate. Catherine's sharper tone followed. "Find her. She can't have gone far." Wyatt grabbed Joanna's hand. "Run!" They burst from the tree line. His ranch sat just beyond the creek. Lantern light glowed in the window. Safety, shelter. But the voices were getting closer. Joanna stumbled. Her bare feet couldn't take much more. Wyatt didn't hesitate. He scooped her up, carrying her the last 100 yards. "Put me down," she protested weakly. "Not a chance," he muttered. They reached his porch. He kicked the door open, set her down gently inside, then turned to face the darkness. Jacob Pike emerged from the trees, breathing hard. Catherine stood behind him, arms crossed. "That's my daughter," Jacob said, trying to sound authoritative. "That's a grown woman," Wyatt replied, voice calm but firm, "and she's not going back. You have no right." "I have every right to shelter someone in danger." Wyatt stepped forward. "You want her back? You'll have to go through me first." Jacob hesitated. He was bigger than Wyatt, but there was something in the farmer's stance, something unmovable. Catherine hissed, "This isn't over." "It is for tonight," Wyatt said. He watched them retreat into the darkness. Then he turned back inside. Joanna sat by the fire shaking, not from cold, from everything else. Wyatt handed her a blanket. "You're safe now." She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "Why are you doing this?" He crouched beside her. Because somebody should have done it a long time ago. For the first time in years, Joanna Pike felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. Outside, the wind carried voices away. Inside, the fire crackled, and between two strangers something fragile began to grow. But dawn would bring new questions, new dangers. And Catherine Pike wasn't the type to forgive. I didn't ask you to save me. Joanna's voice was quiet but sharp. Morning light streamed through Wyatt's window. She sat at his table, wrapped in a borrowed shirt, her torn dress folded beside her. I know, Wyatt said, pouring coffee. But I did it anyway. She looked away. They'll make your life hell for this. Let them try. He set the cup in front of her. Steam rose between them. For a moment neither spoke. Just the crackle of the stove, the distant crow of a rooster. Joanna's hands trembled as she lifted the cup. You don't know Catherine. She's not like other women. She's cruel. I've seen her kind before, Wyatt said, sitting across from her. Women who smile in church and sharpen their knives at home. Joanna's lips twitched. Almost a smile. That's her exactly. How long has it been? Wyatt asked gently. The beatings. Her smile faded. Since my real mother died, 5 years now. Catherine married my father 6 months after the funeral. And your father just lets her? Joanna's eyes hardened. My father is weak. He loved my mother. When she died, he died too. Catherine just moved into the empty space. Wyatt nodded slowly. He understood loss. Understood how grief could hollow a man out. She has a daughter, Joanna continued. Margaret, 2 years younger than me. Catherine's favorite. Everything I did wrong, Margaret did right. Everything I touched, Catherine found fault with. And your father? He started drinking, started believing Catherine when she said I was difficult, ungrateful, that I needed discipline. Her voice broke. Last night wasn't the first time he hit me, but it was the worst. Wyatt's jaw tightened. He won't touch you again. You can't promise that. Watch me. They sat in silence. Then Joanna spoke again, softer now. Why did you leave the firewood? The eggs? Wyatt looked down at his coffee. I saw you one morning, early before dawn. You were hauling water from the well. Your hands were raw, bleeding, but you didn't stop. Didn't complain, just kept working. So you pitied me, Joanna said flatly. No, Wyatt said firmly. I respected you. There's a difference. She met his eyes. Something shifted in her expression. Not trust yet, but maybe the beginning of it. I can't stay here, she said. They'll come back. Then we'll be ready. You don't understand. A knock at the door cut her off. Sharp, demanding. Joanna's face went white. That's her. Wyatt stood slowly. Stay here. He crossed to the door and opened it. Catherine Pike stood on his porch, dressed in her Sunday best, smile painted on like armor. Mr. Mercer, she said sweetly. I believe you have something that belongs to us. Mrs. Pike, Wyatt replied, voice neutral. I have a guest, nothing more. That guest is my stepdaughter, and she's needed at home. She's not going back. Catherine's smile tightened. You're interfering in family matters. I'm protecting someone in danger. That's not interference. That's decency. Decency? Catherine's voice sharpened. You know nothing about our family. Joanna is troubled, disobedient. We're trying to help her. By beating her? The mask slipped. Just for a moment. Catherine's eyes went cold. Discipline is not abuse, Mr. Mercer. But I wouldn't expect a bachelor to understand the complexities of raising a child. She's 21, Wyatt said quietly. Not a child. She's my responsibility. Not anymore. Catherine stepped closer, lowering her voice. The town won't look kindly on this. A young woman staying alone with a man, unchaperoned. Your reputation will be ruined. I'll manage. And what about her reputation? Catherine's smile returned, vicious now. Do you think anyone will believe she's here innocently? They'll call her a whore, a homewrecker. She'll be shunned. Wyatt's voice dropped to a dangerous calm. Get off my property. Excuse me? You heard me. Leave, now. Catherine's face flushed red. This isn't over. It is for today. She turned sharply and stalked away. But before she reached her wagon, she looked back. You'll regret this, Mr. Mercer. Both of you will. Wyatt closed the door. Joanna stood in the center of the room, pale and shaking. "She's right," Joanna whispered. "The town will destroy me. The town doesn't matter. It matters to me." Her voice broke. "I have nowhere else to go. If I'm ruined here, I'm ruined everywhere." Wyatt crossed to her. "Then we make sure that doesn't happen." "How?" He hesitated, then spoke carefully. "We tell them the truth, that you're working for me, as a housekeeper, room and board in exchange for help around the ranch." Joanna stared at him. "You do that?" "I need the help," Wyatt said with a small shrug. "Place is falling apart, and you need somewhere safe. Seems like a fair trade. But Catherine can spread all the rumors she wants, but if you're working here openly, honestly, then there's nothing to gossip about." It was a risk. They both knew it. Small towns thrived on scandal, but it was also a lifeline. Joanna nodded slowly. Okay, I'll do it." "Good." Wyatt moved toward the door. "I'll ride into town this afternoon, let people know I've hired help, make it official. And if they ask why, I'll tell them I'm getting older. Need someone who can cook and clean, simple as that." Joanna almost laughed. "You're 37, not 70. "Close enough," Wyatt said with the ghost of a smile. But as he stepped outside, he saw something that made his blood run cold. Jacob Pike stood at the property line, watching, waiting, and beside him, Catherine whispered in his ear. Whatever peace they'd bought this morning wouldn't last long. The real fight was just beginning. "She's living in sin with that farmer." The whisper carried through the general store like poison. Joanna kept her eyes down, clutching her shopping list. 3 days since she'd moved to Wyatt's ranch. 3 days of stares and hushed voices. Mrs. Henderson stood behind the counter, lips pursed. "That'll be $2. $2? Joanna blinked. "Last week this cost $1.50. "Prices went up," Mrs. Henderson said coldly. It was a lie. They both knew it, but Joanna reached into her pocket and paid anyway. She couldn't afford to make enemies. Outside, the morning sun blazed. Wyatt waited by the wagon, hat pulled low. When he saw her face, his jaw tightened. "What happened?" "Nothing," Joanna said quickly. "Just expensive." Wyatt took the bag from her hands and glanced inside. His eyes darkened. "She overcharged you." "It doesn't matter." "It does to me." He turned toward the store. Joanna grabbed his arm. "Don't, please. It'll only make things worse." Wyatt looked down at her hand on his sleeve, then at her face. The fear there, the exhaustion. He nodded slowly. "All right. But we're not coming back here. There's nowhere else to shop. Then we'll make do with what we have." They climbed into the wagon. As Wyatt snapped the reins, Catherine Pike emerged from the church across the street. She smiled, waved, like they were old friends. Joanna's stomach turned. "She's been busy," Wyatt muttered, spreading her version of the story. "What version?" "That you seduced me. That you ran away to be with a man. That your poor father tried to stop you. But you refused to listen." Joanna's hands clenched in her lap. "And they believe her?" "Some do. Catherine's been here longer than I have. She knows how to play the game." "Then I've already lost." Wyatt glanced at her. "Not yet." But the doubt in his voice was clear. When they reached the ranch, Joanna threw herself into work, scrubbing floors, mending fences. Anything to keep her hands busy and her mind quiet. Wyatt watched her from the barn. She moved like someone trying to outrun her own shadow, fast, desperate, never stopping. "You're going to hurt yourself," he called. She didn't answer, just kept scrubbing the porch steps. Wyatt crossed the yard and crouched beside her. "Joanna, stop. I have to earn my keep," she said, voice tight. "If I'm going to stay here, I have to." "You don't have to prove anything." "Yes, I do." She looked up at him, tears streaming down her face. "Don't you see? They already think I'm a whore. If I don't work hard enough, if I give them any reason to doubt, I don't care what they think." "Well, I do." Her voice cracked. "I care because I have nothing left. No family, no home, no reputation. All I have is this, and if I lose this, I lose everything." Wyatt's chest ached. He wanted to tell her it would be okay, that the town would come around, but he'd seen towns like this before. Once they decided someone was guilty, no amount of proof could change their minds. You're not going to lose this, he said quietly. I promise. You can't promise that. I just did. For a moment they stared at each other. Then Joanna looked away, wiping her eyes. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have. You have every right to be angry. She laughed bitterly. Angry? I'm terrified. I know. Do you? She stood pacing. You're not the one they're whispering about. You're not the one who'll be ruined if this doesn't work. You think my reputation's safe? Wyatt stood too. Half the town thinks I'm taking advantage of you. The other half thinks I'm a fool. Either way, I'm just as marked as you are. Joanna stopped, turned. Then why are you doing this? Because it's the right thing to do. That's not an answer. Wyatt hesitated, then spoke carefully. Because I've watched you for months, watched you carry water until your hands bled, watched you take beatings and never cry out, watched you survive things that would have broken most people. He stepped closer. And I thought, if someone that strong needs help, then I'd be a coward not to offer it. Joanna's breath caught. You think I'm strong? Strongest person I know. She shook her head. I don't feel strong, I feel like I'm drowning. Then let me help you float. The words hung between them, soft, heavy with meaning. But before Joanna could respond, hoofbeats echoed up the road. They both turned. A rider approached. Sheriff's badge glinting in the sun. Wyatt's hand moved instinctively toward his rifle. Stay behind me. The sheriff dismounted slowly. His name was Garrett, mid-50s, hard face. He'd been sheriff for 20 years and knew every secret in town. Afternoon, Mercer, he said, tipping his hat. Sheriff, Wyatt replied evenly. What brings you out here? Got a complaint. From the Pikes. Joanna's face went pale. What kind of complaint? Wyatt asked. They're saying you're holding their daughter against her will, that she's not here by choice. That's a lie, Joanna said, stepping forward. I came here on my own. Sheriff Garrett looked at her. Really looked. He saw the fading bruises on her arms, the cut on her cheek that was still healing. That so? He asked quietly. Yes, Joanna said firmly. My stepmother and father, they hurt me. Wyatt saved me. I'm working here now, as his housekeeper. Legally. Fairly. The sheriff nodded slowly. And Mercer's treating you well? Better than I've been treated in years. Garrett studied them both, then sighed. I believe you, Miss Pike, but belief and proof are different things. The town's talking. Catherine's pushing for an investigation. Says you're unfit to care for yourself. That's ridiculous. Wyatt snapped. Maybe. But it's also politics. Catherine's got friends. Influential friends. If this goes to a town meeting, it could get ugly. What are you suggesting? Wyatt asked carefully. The sheriff met his eyes. I'm suggesting you two be very careful. Keep things proper. No closed doors. No late nights alone. And for God's sake, get a chaperone. A chaperone? Joanna repeated. I'm 21 years old. Doesn't matter. Not in this town. Not with Catherine stirring the pot. He tipped his hat again. I'll do what I can to keep them off your back, but you need to give me something to work with. Make this look as respectable as possible. Then he rode away, leaving them standing in the dust. Joanna turned to Wyatt. This is hopeless. No, Wyatt said. It's just complicated. Where are we supposed to find a chaperone? No one in town will help us. Wyatt thought for a moment. Then his face cleared. I know someone. Who? My sister, Clara. She lives 2 towns over. Widowed last year. She'd come if I asked. And she'd stay here? With us? She needs a place to live anyway. Her husband left her nothing but debts. This could help both of you. Joanna wanted to hope, but hope felt dangerous now, like a trap waiting to spring. What if she says no? Joanna whispered. She won't, Wyatt said with quiet certainty. She's family, and family shows up. But even as he said it, he wondered if it would be enough. Because Catherine Pike wasn't just fighting for control. She was fighting to destroy. They're coming for her tonight. The warning came from an unexpected source. Old Tom, the blacksmith. He rode up to Wyatt's ranch just after sunset, horse lathered with sweat. What are you talking about? Wyatt asked, helping him down. Tom glanced toward the house where Joanna was lighting lanterns. There's a meeting. At the church. Catherine convinced half the town that Miss Pike is in danger here. They're forming a group to bring her back. A group? Wyatt's blood ran cold. You mean a mob? Call it what you want, but they'll be here within the hour. Maybe 20 men, Jacob's leading them. Wyatt's hands clenched. Her own father? Catherine's got him convinced he's doing the right thing, saving his daughter from sin. Tom spat into the dirt. I tried to talk sense into them, but they wouldn't listen. You need to prepare. Or I need to leave, Joanna said quietly. They both turned. She stood on the porch, face pale but composed. She'd heard everything. No, Wyatt said immediately. You're not going back there. I won't let you fight my battles, Joanna said, descending the steps. If they want me gone, I'll go. There's no point in you getting hurt for my sake. There's every point, Wyatt said fiercely. You think I'll just hand you over to them? You don't have a choice. Yes, I do, and I'm making it right now. Tom looked between them. I should go. But Mercer, be smart about this. You can't fight the whole town. Watch me, Wyatt muttered. After Tom left, Wyatt turned to Joanna. Go inside, lock the door, don't open it for anyone but me. What are you going to do? What I should have done from the beginning. Stand my ground. Joanna grabbed his arm. They'll kill you. Not if I'm smart. He covered her hand with his. Trust me. I do, she whispered. That's what scares me. He wanted to tell her not to be afraid, but fear was the only rational response right now, so instead he squeezed her hand and let go. Inside, now. She obeyed reluctantly. As the door closed behind her, Wyatt walked to the barn and retrieved his rifle, not to shoot, but to remind them he could. The sun dipped below the horizon. Darkness crept across the valley, and then, like a nightmare taking shape, torches appeared on the road. 20 men, maybe more. They came on foot and on horseback, faces grim and determined. Jacob Pike rode at the front, jaw set. Beside him walked Catherine, dressed in black like she was attending a funeral. Wyatt stepped onto his porch, rifle across his chest. Not aimed, not threatening, just present. The mob stopped at his fence line. For a long moment no one spoke, just the crackle of torches and the nervous shuffling of horses. Then Jacob spoke. We're here for my daughter. She's not your daughter anymore, Wyatt replied calmly. She's a grown woman making her own choices. She's confused, Catherine interjected, voice dripping with false concern. She's been through trauma. She doesn't know what she's doing. She knows exactly what she's doing, Wyatt said. She's surviving. Something you never let her do. Jacob's face reddened. You have no right to speak about my family. I have every right when your family beats a woman bloody and calls it discipline. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Some men looked uncomfortable, others angry. Catherine's smile tightened. Those are lies, she said sweetly. Joanna's always been dramatic, prone to exaggeration. We tried to help her, but she refused. And now she's living here unmarried, unchaperoned. It's a scandal. My sister arrives tomorrow, Wyatt said. She'll be staying here as a chaperone. Everything will be proper and legal. And we're supposed to just take your word for it? Someone shouted from the crowd. You're supposed to respect the law, Wyatt shot back. Joanna's an adult. She has the right to live where she chooses. If you try to take her by force, you're breaking the law, and I'll defend my property. He lifted the rifle slightly, not aiming, just adjusting. The crowd shifted nervously. A few men at the back started to peel away. This wasn't what they'd signed up for. They'd come expecting a scared girl and a weak farmer, not a man willing to stand his ground. But Jacob didn't move. She's my blood. Then you should have treated her like it, Wyatt said coldly. Jacob dismounted, walked up to the fence. His eyes were bloodshot, his hands shaking. I love my daughter. Funny way of showing it. I made mistakes, Jacob said, voice breaking. I know that, but I can fix this. If she just comes home. Home? Wyatt's voice rose. You call that place home? Where she's beaten? Where she's told she's worthless? Where her stepmother poisons every breath she takes? That's enough, Catherine hissed. But Wyatt wasn't finished. You want to know why she ran? Because she was dying there, slowly, every day. And you let it happen. Jacob's face crumpled. For the first time he looked less like a man and more like the broken, grieving husband he'd been 5 years ago. I didn't know, he whispered. Catherine said, she told me Joanna was just difficult, that she needed structure. I didn't realize. Yes, you did, Wyatt said, softer now. You knew, you just didn't want to see it. The fight drained out of Jacob. His shoulders sagged. He looked like he might collapse right there in the dirt. Catherine saw it happening, saw her control slipping. She stepped forward, voice sharp. This is absurd. We came here to retrieve stolen property. I'm not property. Every head turned. Joanna stood on the porch, no longer hiding. Her face was tear-streaked but furious. She descended the steps and crossed the yard, stopping just behind Wyatt. I'm not property, she repeated, voice shaking with rage. I'm not cattle, I'm not a burden, I'm a person, and I'm done being treated like anything less. Catherine's mask finally cracked. You ungrateful little… No. Joanna cut her off. I'm not ungrateful, I'm free, and you can't stand it. You can't stand that I found a way out, that someone saw value in me when you never did. She turned to her father. Papa, I loved you. I loved you so much, even when you hit me, even when you believed her lies. But I can't keep drowning to save you. Jacob's eyes filled with tears. Joanna. I'm staying here, she said firmly. With Wyatt, where I'm safe, where I'm treated like a human being. If you love me, you'll let me go. For a long, agonizing moment, Jacob just stared at his daughter. Then slowly, he nodded. Okay, he whispered. Okay. Jacob, Catherine shrieked. You can't just… It's over, Catherine, Jacob said, voice hollow. Let her go. Catherine's face twisted with fury. She looked around at the crowd searching for support, but the men were already dispersing, ashamed, uncomfortable, no longer interested in dragging a woman away from safety. This isn't over, Catherine spat at Wyatt. You'll pay for this, both of you. I'm sure we will, Wyatt replied, but we'll pay together. Catherine stormed off, dragging Jacob behind her. One by one the torches disappeared into the night, until only Wyatt and Joanna remained in the yard. Joanna's legs gave out. Wyatt caught her before she hit the ground, pulling her against his chest. She sobbed into his shirt, body shaking with relief and terror and exhaustion. You're okay, he murmured. You're safe. I've got you. I thought they'd take me, she gasped between sobs. I thought I'd lose everything again. Never, Wyatt said fiercely. You hear me? Never. They sank to the ground together, dirt under their knees, stars appearing overhead. For the first time since this nightmare began, Joanna let herself believe she might actually survive. But survival wasn't the same as living, and as Wyatt held her in the darkness, he realized something that both thrilled and terrified him. He didn't just want to protect her. He wanted to love her. And maybe, just maybe, he already did. The mob was gone, the torches extinguished. But the real battle was just beginning. Because loving someone meant risking everything. And neither of them knew if they were brave enough to take that leap. Not yet. But soon. I'm not leaving. Joanna's voice was steady, clear. For the first time in weeks she didn't sound afraid. Wyatt looked up from the fence he was mending. Clara stood on the porch, hands folded. The town's still talking, Clara said gently. People are cruel. Are you sure you want to stay? Joanna nodded. This is the first place I've ever felt safe. Clara smiled. Then we make it official. That evening they sat around the table. Lamplight flickered. There's a way to stop the talk, Clara said. Marriage, for protection. Joanna's breath caught. That's not fair to Wyatt. Let me decide what's fair to me, Wyatt said quietly. He turned to her. If you marry me, Catherine loses. You become untouchable. And what do you get? Joanna whispered. Wyatt's eyes softened. I get to keep you safe. That's enough. Okay, she said. I'll do it. 3 days later they stood in the small church at the edge of town. The reverend was kind. Clara stood as witness. Joanna wore a simple dress Clara had sewn. Nothing fancy, just clean and white and hers. Wyatt wore his Sunday best. His hands were steady as he took hers. The reverend spoke. Do you, Wyatt Mercer, take this woman as your lawfully wedded wife? I do, Wyatt said. And do you, Joanna Pike, take this man as your lawfully wedded husband? Joanna looked at Wyatt, at the man who'd run into the forest for her, who'd stood against a mob, who'd given her a home when she had nothing. I do, she said. The reverend smiled. Then by the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. No one cheered. No one threw rice. But as they walked out of the church together, Joanna felt something shift. She wasn't Joanna Pike anymore. She was Joanna Mercer. And no one could take that away. Back at the ranch, Clara had prepared a small meal. Roast chicken, fresh bread, vegetables from the garden. To new beginnings, Clara toasted. They ate in comfortable silence. After dinner, Clara excused herself to her room, giving them space. Wyatt and Joanna sat on the porch. As the sun set, the sky burned orange and pink. "You don't have to stay out here," Joanna said softly. "It's your house." "It's our house now," Wyatt corrected. She looked at him. "I don't know how to be a wife. I don't know how to be a husband," Wyatt admitted. "We'll figure it out together." For a while they just sat, listening to the evening sounds, crickets, wind through the grass. Then Joanna spoke. "Why did you really do this?" Wyatt considered the question. "At first I told myself it was duty, but somewhere along the way it became more. More how?" He turned to her. "I started imagining a future, not just keeping you safe, but building a life, together." Joanna's heart raced. "Wyatt, I'm not asking you to feel the same," he said quickly. "I know trust doesn't come easy. When you're ready, if you're ever ready, I'll be here." She reached out and took his hand, his calloused, strong hand. "I'm scared," she admitted. "Of what?" "Of wanting this, of letting myself hope. What if it gets taken away?" Wyatt squeezed her hand. "Then we fight to keep it together." The words settled between them, together. Not him protecting her, not her depending on him, but both equal, building something new. As the stars appeared, Joanna leaned her head on his shoulder. It felt natural, right. "Thank you," she whispered. "For what?" "For seeing me, not the broken girl, not the burden, just me." Wyatt pressed a kiss to the top of her head. Gentle, respectful. "That's all I've ever seen." The next morning, Jacob Pike rode up to the ranch, alone. Wyatt stepped out to meet him, hand near his rifle, but Jacob raised his hands. "I'm not here to fight," he said, dismounting slowly. "Then why are you here?" Wyatt asked. "I came to see my daughter." Joanna appeared in the doorway. She looked at her father, the man who'd failed her, who'd chosen Catherine over her. "I'm not your daughter anymore," she said quietly. "I'm Joanna Mercer now." Jacob's face crumpled. "I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I needed you to know I'm leaving Catherine. I'm selling the house, and I'm sorry." Joanna stepped forward. "Sorry doesn't change what happened. I know. It doesn't erase the bruises, or the fear." "I know," Jacob whispered, tears streaming down his face. Joanna took a breath. "But maybe someday it can be a start." Jacob looked up, hopeful. "Not today," Joanna said firmly. "Maybe not for a long time, but someday if you prove you've changed we can talk. Until then, stay away." Jacob nodded. "I will, I promise." He mounted his horse and rode away. Joanna watched him go, Wyatt standing beside her. "You okay?" he asked. "Yeah," she said. "I think I am." That autumn the ranch thrived. Joanna learned to manage the books. Clara taught her to preserve food for winter. Wyatt expanded the herd. Slowly the town's whispers faded. People saw Joanna at the general store, head held high. They saw Wyatt and Joanna working together. They saw a marriage that had become real. One evening as they sat by the fire, Joanna turned to Wyatt. "I think I'm ready," she said. "Ready for what?" She smiled. "To stop being afraid, to let myself love you." Wyatt's breath caught. "You don't have to." "I want to," she interrupted. "You've given me everything. Safety, respect, a home. But more than that, you've given me time. In that time, I've realized something." "What's that?" "That I don't just need you. I want you, I choose you." Wyatt cupped her face in his hands. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything." He kissed her then. Soft, tender, full of promise. When they pulled apart, Joanna was crying, but these were tears of joy. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you too," Wyatt said. "Always have, always will." Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall, soft flakes drifting down like blessings. Inside, two people who'd found each other in the darkness finally stepped into the light. The fire crackled. The night was silent, and for the first time Joanna Pike Mercer felt truly, completely home. Years later, when people asked how they met, Joanna would smile and say, "He found me in the forest, and I found myself in him." It wasn't the whole truth, but it was the truth that mattered. Because some stories don't start with love, they start with survival. But if you're lucky, if you're brave, if you choose each other every single day, survival becomes living, and living becomes love. The kind that lasts, the kind that heals, the kind that sets you free. And the end. If this story of survival, courage, and unexpected love touched your heart, don't forget to like and subscribe to Wild West Untold Love for more tales of redemption on the frontier. And if a moment or a feeling in this story stayed with you, we'd love to hear it in the comments below. Because sometimes the strongest souls are forged in the darkest places, and the greatest love stories begin with the simplest act of kindness.